I have demonstrated in my first mandate what a strong Europe can achieve. My aim is to continue on this path with those who are pro-European, pro-Ukraine, pro-rule of law. And as of tomorrow, this work starts again. But I'm definitely confident what my running for a second mandate is concerned. EPP is the strongest political group in the European Parliament. EPP has the most leaders. Together with others, we will build a bastion against the extremes from the left and from the right.
This is my video update on this Monday, midday, June the 10th. Let's talk about some news, and let's start things off with the European Union elections and Ursula von der Leyen saying we will build a bastion against the far left and far right. We will build a bastion, a bastion, I tell you. The far left and the far right will be in tatters, tatters, I tell you. That was Ursula. Ursula, after the results of the EU elections. It is so painful to watch her give a speech. It really is. It is very painful to watch her give a speech because she's trying so hard to sound genuine and inspiring, and she just comes off as 100% fake. Like 100% fake. Boy, and who's writing her speeches? Where are you coming up with these words, bro? Tatters, bastion. Oh man, I want to meet her speechwriter. We're going to build a bastion against the far right and the far left. Ursula, in her speech, she also said that she's going to become Commission President, her second term, on a platform of pro-Europe and pro-Ukraine. Pro-Ukraine? What? Yeah. She's going to run in the center, she said. She's going to run in the center and build a bastion against the right, the far right, and the far left. And her second term as EU Commissioner is going to be all about being pro-Europe and pro-Ukraine. Because when they say pro-Ukraine, now when they use the word pro-Ukraine, what they actually mean is pro-globalist, anti-Russian, pro-neocon, neolib, globalist, military-industrial complex war, and anti-Russian. That's what the word pro-Ukraine means. It doesn't really mean pro the country. It just means that you're pro-globalist war machine, anti-Russia. Like far right. Far right doesn't actually mean far right. What it means is anti-globalist populist. Populist anti-globalist. That's what far right means. Whether you're a party that's on the left or the right, if you're populist, then you're going to be labeled as far right. Even if you're a traditional liberal. If you're a traditional liberal, like JFK. JFK today would be labeled far right. That's what he would be labeled. Anyone that goes against the globalists and is populist, nationalist, you're far right. So anyway, that was Ursula, and her EPP, party that she represents in the parliament, a group of parties which coalesce to be called the EPP. They tallied 186 seats when all was said and done. They now have 186 seats out of 720 in the European Parliament. And what Ursula needs to win a second, well, to be appointed to win She's not really running for anything to be appointed for a second term. She needs a simple majority in the 720 seat parliament. So what she's going to do now is she is going to start to find the votes. She has 186, and she's going to find the remaining votes to be appointed commission president. Yeah. I think she'll find it. I think she'll get it. Maybe it'll be a bit challenging, but she'll eventually get the simple majority that she needs so that she can have a second term as European Commission president. And hey, why not? All good if she's Commission president for another, 5 years? She can continue to run the European Union into the ground, and I can continue to get all kinds of great Clown World material. It's a win-win. Yeah. Anyway, that's Ursula. And the big story from yesterday, from the EU elections, of course, is Macron calling snap elections in France. Now, I said in my video update yesterday that the EU Parliament elections are a referendum. In each country, it's a referendum on their president, their prime minister, and how they're doing, how they're running things. And that's the real significance of the EU Parliament elections, because the EU Parliament on its own doesn't really have any power. It can co-legislate on certain things, but it doesn't have any true power in the European Union. But the EU Parliament elections is an opportunity for EU citizens in their country to let their voice be heard, and a referendum on how their leadership is doing. And boy, did Macron get hammered. He got hammered, man. 15% is what Macron got. 15% in France. And Le Pen and the National Rally, they more than doubled Macron with 32%. So what does Macron do? He shocks the world, and he calls snap elections for the end of June. That'll be the first round, and July 7th will be the next round. That's what Macron does. He calls snap elections. He tells the people in a video address. He says, "I've heard you. You're not happy, and so I am going to call parliament elections, not presidential elections. Macron is going to stay put. He has not been Elensky cursed. He is calling parliament elections. And in the parliament elections, if you go off of these numbers, which is going to take place in just a couple of weeks, if you go off of the numbers from the EU vote, National Rally and Le Pen are positioned to, I imagine, to win a majority, or at least to have the right to form a coalition in the National Assembly. And right now, it is Macron and his party that has the coalition. They don't have an outright majority, but they're running things in a coalition. Not the best position to be in if you're Macron. If you're Macron, you want to be able to rule France as president. That means foreign policy. As president, he runs all of the foreign policy. That's what he loves to do, to push his globalist agenda, to go to the cocktail parties in Brussels, and to present himself as emperor and leader of all of Europe. So he loves that part of the job. The part of the job that he hates is having to run France, and especially to run France in a coalition. That part he doesn't like. He doesn't like to deal with the French people. He doesn't like to run France. Macron lost interest in running France many, many years ago. He is not a man of the people. The people, for Macron, in his mind, the people of France, it's just beneath him. It's a waste of his time. He doesn't like to do it. Whenever there are protests in France, or whenever people are out onto the streets and they're upset with certain policies, what Macron does is he sends the police out and they crack the heads of the protesters, and that's how he deals with French domestic issues. What Macron really loves to do is he loves to be the globalist leader of Europe. And that part is going to stay. With the snap elections, the powers as president, he's going to keep all of those things. But what Macron's going to be able to do with the snap elections is he's going to be able to offload all of the responsibility of running France day to day. That can be given to Le Pen. He won't have to deal with any of that stuff. And if you're Macron, you have 3 years left as president of France, then that's it. You can't run again. So once your 3 years is up, you're out. So if Le Pen and her majority or her coalition, whatever it's going to be in Parliament, if they do a good job running France, then Le Pen is positioned to become president. If you're Macron, what do you care? You've given yourself 3 years to now completely focus on your globalist ambitions, whatever those may be. I don't know. Maybe Macron wants to position himself as the next Klaus Schwab. Who knows? But you can let Le Pen deal with all of the French domestic issues, and you can focus on your globalist agenda. If National Rally and Le Pen, they do a terrible job running France day to day, then Macron's party comes back into power. But they have a majority, an outright majority, and all is good. That's France, everybody. And that's Macron and snap elections. And let's now go to, how about Germany? How about Germany and Pirate Scholz? Boy, did Pirate Scholz and his SPD party, they got pummeled. They got pummeled. Pirate Scholz. He ended up in 3rd place behind the CDU and the CSU, which got 30%. This combination party got 30%. The AfD got 16%. And I believe, where is it? Pirate Scholz and the SPD, they ended up with how much? 15%. No, 14%, down from 15.8%. They went in 2019, they went down to 14%. Okay, so CDU, CSU, which is the combination party, they end up with 30%. The AfD, after all the demonization, after all the lawfare and trying to label them as terrorists and Putin puppets and all of these things that they threw at AfD, they still end up with 16%, the number 2 party. And Pirate Scholz and his SPD go from 15.8% in 2019 to 14%. Number 3 position. Poor Pirate Scholz. And how about the Greens? How about the Green Party, his ruling coalition partners? Well, the Greens, they got smacked. The Greens, they got absolutely smacked. Remember, the EU Parliament elections, they are a referendum on the country's leadership. And the German people, they understand that it is Habeck and Annalena, not Scholz. It is Habeck and Annalena that run the show in Germany. And boy, did they get punished. Where is it? The Green Party. The Green Party in 2019 won 20.5% of the vote. And in these elections, they ended up with 12%. They got hammered, man. Hammered. From 20.4 to 12%. 20.5 to 12%. Annalena's probably asking Robert Habeck. She's probably like, Robert, did we do better this time around or worse? She's like, let me see, Annalena math. In 2019, we got 20%. And yesterday, we ended up with 12.5%, 20%. Carry the 360 multiplied by 720i. 20% is greater than 12%. So 20% in 2019. And we ended up yesterday with 12%. Robert, does that mean we did worse? We did worse, Robert. Habeck's like, oh my God, I'm going to go back to writing kindergarten books. Robert, how did this happen? I thought we were doing so well, pushing for war in Ukraine and blowing up pipelines, allowing our number one ally to blow up pipelines. I thought we were doing well with our green agenda. Annalena got punished. She got punished, as did Habeck, as did Scholz, as did Pirate Scholz, but not as bad as the Greens, I think. So that was Germany, and so not quite an Elensky curse just yet, but Belgium, Alexander de Croo, he got Elensky cursed. He got Elensky cursed. Let's see what happened to Belgium's Prime Minister Alexander de Croo. He announced his resignation after his open VLD party suffered a disastrous defeat, gaining just 5.8% of the vote, while the right-wing Vlaams Belang and Flemish nationalist N-VA parties got over 14.8 and 14.2% of the vote share, respectively. I was the figurehead of this campaign. This is not the result I had hoped for, and I, therefore, take responsibility for this result. It was not meant to be, de Croo told journalists on Sunday. As of tomorrow, I will be resigning as Prime Minister, and I will fully concentrate on current affairs. Prime Minister de Croo, you've been Elensky cursed. That's the stamp. Cursed. Yeah, he loved to hug Elensky, Alexander de Croo. He loved to hug Elensky. Every time he saw Elensky, he was giving the man in the green T-shirt a hug. Let me get a smell of that, Elensky number 5. Oh, you just got cursed. You just resigned, Alexander de Croo. Yeah, and he was actually, as he was resigning and seeing the results come in, he was actually crying a bit. You could see tears. He was upset. He was upset, probably frightened that that he could not please Klaus Schwab. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's afraid. Klaus, I'm sorry, Klaus. I was unable to please you. I couldn't win, Klaus. Alexander de Croo, you have failed me for the last time. You have failed me for the last time, Alexander de Croo. I will not accept this defeat. Yeah, he's probably upset that Klaus is going to call him into his office, and who knows what's going to happen. Anyway, that's Belgium. Elensky cursed. Prime Minister. Netherlands. What happened in the Netherlands? Conservative Party for Freedom. They did well. Spearheaded by Geert Wilders, came second with 17% of the vote, and was projected to propel from a single to 7 seats in the European Parliament. Wilders previously spoke against sending military aid to Ukraine, arguing that supporting Kiev's war would leave the Dutch military unable to defend the country. You see, the media, as they're reporting on the EU elections, they make it out as if the results are a direct result of immigration and the rise of nationalist parties. Here's a title from the New York Times. In the EU elections, the center holds, but the far right still wreaks havoc. Voters in the European Union delivered strong gains to anti-immigrant nationalist parties, challenging leaders in Germany and France, and unsettling the political establishment. You see the collective West media. I've been reading all the articles from the collective West media. Well, not all the articles, as many as I can from the collective West mainstream media. And they're positioning these election results as the center holding, which is fairly true. The center, which is Ursula, it did okay, so it held. But the rise of the left and right, this is bad news for the center, and this is due to immigration, they're saying, and to the rise of the nationalist movements, right? And they fail to mention Project Ukraine. They don't talk about Project Ukraine. The mainstream media is not saying that Europeans, a lot of European citizens, they voted because of the failure of Project Ukraine. The parties that were pro-Elensky and pro-Project Ukraine, they got hammered. They got hammered. Let's go this way. And the collective West media doesn't want to mention that. They don't want to say that Project Ukraine and the fact that Elensky is losing, the fact that NATO is losing and Europe is losing, and the EU economies are losing big time and sanctions are not working and Russia's economy is winning big time, that this played a role in the election results. They don't want to mention that, and they're avoiding that. So they're just saying immigration. They're saying immigration and the rise of nationalist parties. So that's one of the narratives that's going on, and you can see that the parties, the people in the parties that over the last couple of months were against escalation with Russia, that they did fairly well. They did really well. For example, Meloni, Italy. She did really well, actually. Meloni's right-wing Fratelli d'Italia, they got 28% of the votes, securing 28 seats, a significant gain from 2019 elections, when her party held just 5 seats. Meloni, who is the current chair of the right-wing European Conservatives and Reformist Group, has previously rebuked Macron over his remarks on the possibility of sending troops to Ukraine and spoke against escalation of tensions between NATO and Moscow. So you see Meloni, she played it smart over the past couple of months. She was saying that Macron is crazy to want to go to war with Russia. She's against it. Italy is not going to go to war with Russia. Italy is not going to fight Russia. She's against sending troops / instructors / troops to Ukraine. And she was rewarded with a good result. Right? So, Meloni, super pro-NATO, pro-sanctions, arming Ukraine with all kinds of weapons. But her red line, at least before the European Parliament elections, her red line was troops in Ukraine and direct conflict with Russia. That was her red line, and she won. She won in these elections, in these Parliament elections. Now, we'll see after these elections if this was just a trick and the red line goes away and she starts talking like Macron, talking up troops and war with Russia and escalation, or if she holds that red line and continues to talk against Macron and escalation with Russia. So we'll see if Meloni's policy changes or not. But she played it smart. She played it smart, and she won. So these elections in Europe, absolutely about immigration and absolutely about Project Ukraine. I think those were the two big issues. And Project Ukraine, for me, Project Ukraine, under it is the economy and the terrible state of the European economy. For me, that falls right under Project Ukraine because it is Project Ukraine that has led to a recession in the European Union and to the terrible state of the economy in all of the EU countries. Those were the two big issues. Immigration and Project Ukraine, the sanctions, blowing up Nord Stream, all of these things. energy prices, inflation. That was what the vote was about. But the collective West media, they don't mention Project Ukraine. Anyway, let's move on. Those are the elections, the European Union elections. Let's do some more stories. Russian warships are in the Caribbean, everybody. Russian warships carrying hypersonic missiles and nuclear-powered submarines have arrived in Cuba for air and naval exercises in the Caribbean. How about that? Russian warships and nuclear sub in the Caribbean. And what else? What else? Israel. We had a resignation in the war cabinet. Whoa. What kind of bird is that? I know there's some experts out there that are going to tell me what kind of bird that is. So odd. What an interesting bird. Wow. Yeah, so in Israel, we had, it's hot. It's really hot today, guys. We had a resignation from the war cabinet. Netanyahu's main opposition, actually. Benny Gance from CNN, Israeli Minister Benny Gance resigns from war cabinet in blow to Netanyahu. Gance, considered Netanyahu's main political challenger, said he was quitting 8 months after the October 7th attacks because the situation in the country and in the decision-making room has changed. He accused Netanyahu of putting his own personal political considerations ahead of a post-war strategy for the Gaza Strip, claiming that fateful strategic decisions are met with hesitancy and procrastination due to political considerations, and urged the prime minister to hold an election in the coming months. I call on Netanyahu, set an agreed election date. Do not let our people be torn apart, Gance said. Yeah, you know what's going on here? Gance is the number one opposition to, what's up, my friend, to Netanyahu. And the Biden White House, State Department, they don't want to deal with Netanyahu. They never liked Netanyahu. Netanyahu never liked them. They want Netanyahu gone, and they've started the process now with Gance resigning from the war cabinet. And Gance is the main opposition to Netanyahu. From what I understand, Gance is very, very much aligned with the Biden White House's three-point plan for Israel and for Gaza and for the Middle East. He's very much aligned with the Biden White House, State Department, Blinken policy towards Israel, Gaza, and the Middle East. And I think they're preparing the path for eventual elections and to try and maneuver Netanyahu out. That's what I think is going on here. Actually, it's pretty obvious that's what's going on here. Let's see what else CNN is saying. In April, Gance called for early elections to be held as soon as September, ahead of the one-year anniversary of the war, saying Israeli society needs to renew its contract with its leadership. Gance often surpasses the prime minister in popularity, according to opinion polls. A survey published Friday by the Israeli Maariv newspaper showed support for Gance at 42% compared to 34% for Netanyahu. Yeah, that's it. That's what's happening, in my opinion. I think it's pretty clear that's what's happening. Get elections in September and get Netanyahu out, position Gance in as prime minister, and then the Biden White House can start implementing its plans for Gaza, Israel, but also for the entire Middle East. And why do I say that? Because the Wall Street Journal, they put out an article with the title, U.S. to offer landmark defense treaty to Saudi Arabia in effort to spur Israel normalization deal. The White House is trying to keep broader regional diplomatic efforts going amid months of fruitless ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. Yeah. That article came out yesterday from the Wall Street Journal. The Biden White House, they want to get their policy implemented, which a big part of that policy, a big component to all of it is the normalization of Israel and Saudi Arabia, the relationship between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And they're not going to be able to do that with Netanyahu as prime minister. So that's why the Wall Street Journal ran this article yesterday. That's why you have the resignation of Gance. And in September, they're going to push for elections. We'll see if Netanyahu says okay to all of this. I doubt it. I think Netanyahu is going to resist big time. So that's the other big news from yesterday. What a beautiful tree. Wow. What an amazing tree. All right, let's do a clown world and we'll wrap this video up. I'll do a quick clown world for today, and we go back to Professor Biden. And it looks like yesterday, Professor Biden got lost again on stage. He was speaking at some global fund event, the Global Fund event or something like that, and he couldn't find his way off stage. Again, do the Biden. Do the Biden, everybody. That's trending. And yeah, he's losing it, man. He's losing it very quickly, Biden. He's degrading very quickly. I don't know how they're going to get him past the debates, get him to the debates, and get him to the election. I don't know what they're going to do, but they better do something quick. I don't know what they're going to pump him up with so he can get through the debate with Trump. Maybe they'll cancel the debate. I don't know. Find an excuse to cancel it, but he's slipping. He is slipping very, very fast. Anyway, it seems every day we're getting a Biden gaffe now. Every single day we're getting some sort of Biden gaffe where he's lost and doesn't know what's going on. It's sad, man. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. Go to the Duran shop, Football 24. Pick up some cool football merch. And pick up some other Duran merch as well. And like this video, subscribe to this channel. Tell me something interesting in the comments down below. And that's it for today. Take care.